Welcome to AI News in 10, your top AI and tech news podcast in about 10 minutes. AI tech is amazing and is changing the world fast. For example, this entire podcast is curated and generated by AI using my and my kids' cloned voices. It's Monday, March 30th, and we're starting the week with a sharp look at where money, policy, and platforms are moving in AI and tech. On deck today, Progress Software reports earnings after the close with a focus on AI-driven enterprise tooling, a first-of-its-kind private markets window for accredited SoFi members to get exposure to OpenAI and Perplexity AI ends today. ISACA's Los Angeles Spring Conference opens with security and governance high on the agenda. The EU's DeepRAP program hosts an information session on deep reasoning and planning for trustworthy AI, and Xbox Game Pass adds The Long Dark as Microsoft keeps content humming alongside its agentic AI roadmap. But first, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Need elite developers fast? Elite Coders connects you with rigorously vetted senior engineers in 24 to 48 hours. Staff augmentation, dedicated teams, or full project delivery, we've got you covered. Visit elitecoders.co to get started today.
Now let's dive into today's stories. Story 1. Progress Software reports fiscal Q1 results after the bell today. Why it matters for AI. Progress has positioned itself as a trusted provider of AI-powered digital experience and infrastructure software. Markets will parse whether recurring revenue and guidance reflect real enterprise adoption, not just pilots. Management timed the release for after market close, so expect late-day headlines. And a call that could set the tone for mid-cap enterprise software into April. If growth in annual recurring revenue, cash flow, and expansion rates shows resilience, that's a quiet but important signal that practical AI add-ons, governance, automation, app modernization, are moving from experiments to budgeted line items. Watch the balance between core infrastructure and newer AI assistance features, and any commentary on security hardening after last year's focus on software supply chain risk. Source: Progress Investor Notice for Q1 Fiscal 2026 Results, released March 30th. Zooming out, a reliable bellwether like this shapes how CIOs think about near-term spend. Are AI copilots and automation features bundled into existing licenses, or driving net new seats and product tiers? The post-call guide, especially demand in North America versus Europe, the Middle East and Africa, will show where the macros are biting and where AI is pulling forward value. Source: Progress earnings timing and positioning as AI-powered infrastructure. Story 2. Today is the final day for a novel private market access play. Templum's Cosmos Fund window for accredited SoFi members to invest in OpenAI and Perplexity AI closes March 30th. The offering has run since March 5th, and while it's strictly for accredited investors and not endorsed by the companies themselves, it's another sign that demand to own a slice of AI's category leaders is spilling beyond traditional venture channels. If participation is strong, expect more marketplaces to package secondary access to late-stage AI names, especially ahead of liquidity events. For founders and employees, that could mean more price discovery, and for regulators, fresh questions about transparency and suitability in quasi-retail private markets. Source: Templum announcement detailing the SoFi window and its March 5th to March 30th enrollment period, with no affiliation to OpenAI or Perplexity. There's also a broader implication. If private market access keeps inching into mainstream finance apps, we'll see pressure for clearer disclosures on model risk, safety postures, and compute dependencies. Investors will ask not just about growth, but about supply chains, chips, data center contracts, even energy hedging strategies. Story 3. Security and governance are top of mind as ISACA's Los Angeles Spring Conference kicks off today and runs through tomorrow. This annual gathering is heavy on practical guidance for CISOs, auditors, and risk leaders, and it arrives amid a flurry of critical patches and 0 days affecting enterprise stacks and AI-adjacent tooling. Expect deep dives on model governance, auditability, data lineage, and the integration of AI into SOX, the Sarbanes-Oxley framework, and internal control programs, plus tabletop exercises around agentic systems and third-party risk. Even if you're not attending, watch social feeds for session decks. They often become reference material for board updates and internal trainings through the summer. Source: Industry event calendars noting ISACA LA Spring Conference dates, March 30th to 31 in Los Angeles. One practical takeaway if you manage AI pilots: align your risk register with your software development lifecycle. Map every AI-enhanced feature to a specific control. data minimization, prompt logging, model update approvals, and make sure your red teaming cadence matches your release cadence. It's the difference between a showcase demo and a sustainable program that passes audit. Before we continue, here's a quick message from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Family GPT, the AI chat platform actually designed for kids. If your children are curious about ChatGPT, but you're worried about what they might see, Family GPT gives you full parental controls, content filtering, and the ability to align responses with your family's values, whether Christian, Muslim, Jewish, secular, and many more. Monitor every conversation, set usage limits, and let your kids explore AI safely. No ads, no data selling, complete privacy. Sign up free at familygpt.chat. That's familygpt.chat.
All right, let's get back to it. Story 4. In Brussels orbit, the European Innovation Council's DeepRAP, Deep Reasoning, Abstraction and Planning Toward Trustworthy Cognitive AI, has an information session slated for today. The theme is a mouthful, but the stakes are clear. Europe is funding research that pushes AI beyond pattern matching into multi-step reasoning and planning with strong safety and trust requirements. If you build agents, complex tool use pipelines, or decision support systems in health, finance, or public services, keep an eye on these calls. The frameworks they champion often become de facto checklists for procurement and compliance. Today's session is marked to be confirmed, but the materials lay out what Brussels wants to pay for, benchmarks and methods that make cognitive capabilities measurable and auditable. Source: EIC Pathfinder documentation describing the DeepRAP topic with an info session planned for March 30th, 2026. Why should US teams care? Because EU-funded benchmarks have a habit of shaping global conversations. Think of how GDPR nudged privacy practices worldwide. A credible, open benchmark for deep planning and standardized documentation of model behavior under constraints could quickly become table stakes in requests for proposals, even outside Europe. If you're architecting agents, consider how you'd evidence task decomposition, tool choice rationale, and recovery from hallucinated steps. Story 5. Xbox Game Pass adds the survival classic The Long Dark today, with Resident Evil 7 dropping tomorrow. Part of a late March content wave that also includes Nova Roma and other titles. On its face, that's pure gaming news, but for Microsoft's broader strategy, it matters. While Redmond gears up for its May agentic AI push in Microsoft 365 and beyond, the content subscription flywheel keeps spinning, propping up engagement across PC, console, and cloud. For consumers, more day-and-date drops make Game Pass a resilient line item amid tightening wallets. For developers, it's another channel to build communities before expansions and mods land. Source: March Game Pass lineup, noting The Long Dark on March 30th and Resident Evil 7 on March 31st. If you're watching the intersection of AI and games, keep an eye on emergent non-player character tooling and AI-assisted quality assurance pipelines. Studios increasingly blend AI for testing, localization, and content iteration. Quiet compounding that doesn't grab headlines, but shows up in ship cadence and patch quality. Quick recap. After the bell today, Progress Software's numbers will test whether AI-enhanced infrastructure is converting pilots into durable annual recurring revenue. The SoFi Templum private window to invest in OpenAI and Perplexity closes, hinting at how secondary access may expand. ISACA LA's conference puts AI governance and cyber risk under a bright light. The EU's DeepRAP session underscores where public funding wants deep reasoning to go, and Xbox Game Pass's new drops keep content momentum as agentic AI gets ready for prime time. We'll be back tomorrow to break down the earnings and what they signal for Q2 budgets across the AI stack. Sources: Progress earnings timing, the Templum SoFi window, ISACA LA dates, EIC DeepRAP session notes, and Game Pass additions. Thanks for listening, and a quick disclaimer. This podcast was generated and curated by AI using my and my kids' cloned voices. If you want to know how I do it or want to do something similar, reach out to me at imadi@ainewsin10.com. That's AInewsin10.com. See you all tomorrow.